guess both times when I talk to you today, just know that these are things that that I've learned to grow in and that maybe I've struggled with. So it's really more of a personal experience kind of thing, because that's what I find is easier to talk to people about. I'd like to say that when I was, younger, that I had a bunch of really close girlfriends and we all got along all the time, and that's not necessarily the case. And so that's why I'm going to share some of this with you today, because, sometimes we do have to learn lessons the hard way. But I think talking about them and beginning to think about certain things will help us make changes. So I want to offer you today some challenges of ways to grow with your sisters and with your friends, and specifically those girls that maybe you go to church with, that you have Christ in common with. So in order to offer some of those challenges to you, the first thing we need to think about before we get there is, how do we treat each other? And I feel like women, we can be each other's greatest helpers in life, or we can be each other's greatest enemy. And it's interesting, when I was preparing for this lesson, there's this term that kept coming up, and it's called indirect aggression. And it sounds really harsh, because it is. And it's funny because, I was just trying to find, like, how do women treat each other, just some research, that kind of thing. And that term kept coming up. And so I thought, well, does anyone define that term? So I went and typed it into Google, and what came up in the Google search, the first 2 pages, if you type in indirect aggression, every source and every article and every website that comes up, it either says, why women are so mean to each other, why are girls so catty, what is with women and indirect aggression? And so everything on the first 2 pages of the Google search was about women. That's kind of sad, isn't it? Nothing came up about, the workplace, or, it was like just straight up about women. And I thought, that is so sad. And so I think that, if women like you can talk about it and think about these things and want to make a change, just like Lisa was talking about, we have the power to change things, and we have the power to make a difference. And I think that you being here today shows that you have an interest in those things. So I think that that's really powerful. And like she said, it's funny how these lessons keep playing on each other. But how do girls today compete with each other, and maybe what do they compete for? Let me get your thoughts. Here's an example just to get you thinking. Maybe somebody gossips about somebody because they both like the same boy or something. I don't know. That's just an idea. What are some other ways girls compete, and maybe what do they compete for? Anybody got an idea?
If they think somebody's getting the limelight, like if one of the girls is succeeding, then it makes the other girls jealous, envious, and so they compete to try and either draw attention away from the girl in a negative way, or try and get people to boost them up, which they're not able to do themselves.
Right. We like attention, don't we? And sometimes that can get in the way. That's a great point. Anybody else? Another thought?
Looks.
I'm sorry?
Looks.
Maybe she's got some new clothes, or she's done her hair a different way or something, and maybe somebody makes a comment about it. I mean, whoa with the blonde. I mean, did she fall into the bleach? You've heard it, haven't you? Those little kinds of things. Here's some other possible ideas. Forming cliques, maybe forming relationships with girls in a way so you can kind of exclude somebody else. Maybe withdrawing friendship, or making an insult. Even like kind of hidden insults where somebody's like, yeah, I'm going down to the beach, to Panama City. Oh, good luck. Heard it's wild. Just little things like that. You know what I'm saying? You know what they're trying to do there, don't you? That's what indirect aggression is. And like I said, it's very synonymous with women, and I think that it's that way because women do that, and they do it a lot. Something that I want to stress to you is that any of these habits that you're forming right now and the way that you treat women, they're going to stick with you when you're older. Ladies that aren't in a youth group, raise your hands. Like maybe you're a little bit older, maybe you're married, or maybe you're a mom here or something. Do you find that women still treat each other some of the same ways they treated each other in high school? Y'all see all those heads shaking? because it doesn't change. You think, well, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be mature. Camille, you know this, you're in the workplace now. Girls are still the same way, aren't they? It's amazing. It's like, you know, I thought, well, I'm going to grow up and get married and I'll be a good church lady and I'll never be mean again. It's not true, and it's sad. So, you know, the things that people are doing now, and maybe some of the things that you're doing now, you're going to still do those things when you're older, and you don't want to live that way because you're going to miss out on things. I know a lot of women, and I was this way, sometimes when I would walk into a room, I would immediately make someone my competition without even knowing them. So, like, maybe I walked in and, Camille, raise your hand. I'm going to pick on Camille. She doesn't know I'm going to do this, but I knew she was coming with me. Camille is very pretty. She's a very pretty girl, and she's pretty on the inside and on the outside. I probably would have, when I was younger, walked in and looked at Camille and almost immediately made her my competition, for no reason, for no good reason. And the problem with that is one, that it's hurtful and wrong and it's not Christ-like, but the other problem is what I would miss out on not being friends with Camille. She has an awesome sense of humor. She's an extremely hard worker. She's an extremely hard worker. She is great at forming relationships with people. And all of that you would miss out on if you immediately made her your competition. So let me read you something. That's just a thought to think about. Let me read you something from a book that some of us girls at church did a Bible study together. And this is geared towards a little bit of the older women, but I still think it's a good book. It's called Getting Along. It's a gospel advocate book. Y'all are probably familiar with them. It's got a lot of like little chapters, and you kind of go through them together. But let me read you something that this book says. It says, it is even more common to see women engage in a battle of more of a subtle variety called indirect aggression. This predominantly female form of warfare, along with verbal aggression, overlaps with what social psychologists call relational aggression. Indirect aggression includes spreading malicious gossip, playing cruel games with others' feelings, skip the page, forming exclusive cliques, divulging damaging secrets, publicly making insinuating comments, purposefully withdrawing friendship and undermining other women. Instead of supporting each other, women often sabotage each other in a battle of wits, wounding with words and slaying with smiles. Another study found that sabotage, or that indirect aggression between women during the last 10 years has increased 50%. And that's really sad. And I think, like Lisa was talking about, I think that women like us, we have the power to be very bold and make a change in this way. You know, the challenge is to not be like the world, like we find in Romans 12:2, you know, telling us to be different from the world. And I think that, you know, that book was talking about how this has, you know, gotten worse in the past few years. And I think that if we aren't like the world, that we can make a change in that. So in order to get away from that type of harmful behavior, where you form those bad habits or you miss out on things because you act that way towards another girl, I want to offer you some challenges for supporting your sisters, and I'll try to go through them quickly because I'm trying to think. What time do y'all want to try and get to lunch? I know it's already 11:30. Okay. Then, well, we got it. Okay, we'll be done for then. So the first challenge I want to offer you, and I've given you a handout. If you want to write notes, you can. Is give her a break. Do you ever wish someone would give you a little grace? Maybe you're having a bad day, and Carrie Anna says, "Hey, how's your day going?" And you're like, "Fine, don't talk to me." Well, that's a little ugly. Maybe I shouldn't have maybe said that to her that way, but you know, you don't ever know what's going on in somebody's life, and sometimes women, they need a little grace. You know, maybe we look at her and we're like, I can't believe she's not listening to Leslie. She's walking around. Well, she's trying to take care of her baby. You know, we got to give each other a break. We don't know what's going on in each other's lives. Let's see. I do. Kayla mentioned that I have a little side business. I grew up doing flowers for weddings with my family, and so that's what I do on the side. I don't do very many. I do like maybe 3, 4 a year. It's a lot of fun. It's mostly people I know, but some referrals. And when I go in, if I pick up the flowers from the wholesale place, I get them in these buckets that are those 5-gallon buckets, and the flowers are pretty tall before I cut them. And so when I put them in my car, I'm driving around. Well, I have to drive really slow, like grandma slow. And so I'm like taking corners, like, you know, I'm not sure if my car even works slow. And people are honking and zooming around me doing that thing, you know. And I'm like, I'm sorry. sorry, I don't want to, ruin $300 worth of flowers in my car. And so, they kind of pass that quick judgment, what an idiot, she didn't know how to drive. Women should be behind the wheel, or, whatever. I'm just saying they say these things, they may not, but, they give you that look or they're honking at you, and they're making that quick judgment on you, but they don't know what's going on in your life. And I feel like sometimes with women, we do the same thing to them. We look at them, we pass a harsh judgment, but we don't know what's going on in their lives. And I'm not saying, ladies, that we should, if somebody's got like a real sin that they're struggling with, that we should say, oh, well, she likes to go to bars, but she's just real tired, she needs friends. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, that we don't need to overlook legitimate sin that we can be helping somebody with. But, if somebody's having a bad day, maybe it's time to offer them a little grace. Somebody read a couple of scriptures for me. Proverbs 17:9. Who can get that one for me? Raise your hand. Proverbs 17:9. Anybody? Caleb? Okay. And then 1 Peter 4:8. Who wants to do that one for me? Let me see a hand. Miss Lisa? Okay. Let me know whenever you get there. Kayla, read yours. And then I think Lisa, you got that one. I think I got that right. I think.
Proverbs 17:9 says, whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends.
Okay. And Miss Lisa?
Above all, keep loving one another. Keep loving one another earnestly, since love covers a multitude of sins.
So, the verse that Kayla read from Proverbs talks about if someone does something to you and you bring it back up, that's not really the way to handle it. So if somebody wrongs you, maybe instead of having that little heart-to-heart with your friend, hey, I just wanted to talk to you, you really hurt my feelings, and just wanted to say that, maybe next time you can be nicer. Maybe instead of bringing it up to her after she's already had a bad day, maybe you just let it slide. And I think that, and it's hard to do because, y'all, I'm outgoing, and I don't really mind confrontation. It doesn't really bother me, and it becomes a problem sometimes because I'm the type of person that's like, hey, what was up with that? And that kind of stuff doesn't bother me to say, but that just brings it up again for that person. Maybe we need to give them a little grace. And y'all know this, you're here and you know this already. God gives us grace every day. And I don't think it's right for us to not return that. Let's go on to the next thing that I think kind of plays off of giving someone else grace. We can really help other people if we help grow together towards heaven. I know that we talk a lot about in the church about evangelism and spreading the word and that kind of thing, and word and in deed and all those kinds of things. But I think sometimes we forget to be Christians to each other. I think we get really comfortable with each other, and we know a lot about each other. We know a lot of background. We have a lot of expectations and assumptions on how someone's going to act. And so I think that sometimes we forget to show Christ to each other. And it seems like, well, why would we want to show Christ to each other? They know all about Christ. But I think in order to help someone get to heaven, we have to continually reinforce Christ's actions and help each other get to heaven. What are some ways that we can help a sister in Christ get to heaven? What are some very simple kind of to-do type things that we can do to encourage someone in their walk with Christ? Any ideas?
Be a listening ear if they're having a problem.
A listening ear. That's awesome because I'm a talker and that's hard for me to do. But sometimes we need to close our mouths, don't we? And we need to say, hey, how was your week? I really want to know how it was. Not just, oh, it was good. I did this and this and this. How was your week? Do you have anything I can pray for you about this week? What's something else simple that we can do?
Just doing things together, like what you was, offer, good, fun things that sisters in Christ can go and do and have fun together.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've found that to be really helpful because I feel like we fill our schedules with a lot of stuff these days, with a lot of different people. And, I live in a city like Montgomery. There's a lot of secular activities that you can do. And it's a lot of fun. And, I go to networking events and that kind of thing because I want to, build relationships with some of the women in Montgomery. And those are fine and I think they're good. But, you know, just going out and getting coffee with a girlfriend from church and sitting down and having a chat. You know, maybe you're not that kind of intimate person, but maybe saying, hey, a bunch of us are going to go bowling tonight, and just kind of letting go. You know, I think that can be a really big encouragement, and you can be a part of each other's lives that way. And I think that makes a big difference. We can encourage church attendance. You know, maybe at your church, everybody that comes to church is always in church, and that would be awesome. But I'm seeing some funny looks because that's not the case. It's hard sometimes. You know, I don't suffer with depression, but I have anxiety, really bad anxiety, and sometimes going back to church on Sunday night, like having to be around that many people again, makes me like, I'm like, I can't do it. Like, I know that sounds weird because I'm outgoing, but I that's a problem for me sometimes. And I can't explain it. It's in my head, and it gives me anxiety. And it's not depression, but I just can't explain it. There's probably a psychological answer for it. My husband was a psychology major. He likes to talk about it. But sometimes I'm like, I just like the thought of going and being around more people today just makes me want to like cringe, and that's terrible. And I just can't explain it. It's something going on. But, you know, people encourage me, and my friends that are close to me, they know that I'm that way, and they're like, hey, you know, when you're feeling like you can't be around people tonight, just know that we'll miss you. And that's sweet, and they know me, and they know that that's a struggle for me. And so getting to know those kind of inner workings of each other's lives through activities and listening, you can find out a lot about people, and you can really be an encouragement to them. Galatians 6:2 talks about bearing each other's burdens. If y'all want to look it up, you can. And I think that sometimes as women, you know, maybe we hear something like that, like, sometimes it's hard for me to come up to church on Sunday nights. And a little part of us kind of enjoys that. You know what I'm saying? Has somebody ever told you something bad, or something bad has happened to them, and a little part of you maybe enjoys that? And you can't explain it, and that sounds terrible, and I'm probably oversharing here, but it's true. I think sometimes that we almost enjoy it a little bit. And the Bible tells us to bear each other's burdens, not delight in them. And I think that might be a blank. To bear each other's burdens, don't delight in them. You know, bearing each other's burdens means being a good listener. It means getting together with people so that there are those opportunities. People aren't going to come up to you and tell you their problems. But if you invite them places and do things with them, or you have a habit of being a good listener to them, they probably will start telling you some things. So those are just some thoughts I wanted to share with you in ways that maybe we could help each other grow towards heaven. The last thing that I want to talk today is is to give yourself a break. I think that women are kind of hard on ourselves, and we should be. We should hold ourselves to a really high standard, and we should have big expectations for ourselves, like Lisa was talking about. You know, we can do really great things, so we should hold ourselves to some good expectations. But I think that the society we live in today kind of puts a spin on that. And what I'm talking about is, who here has Instagram? Anybody have an Instagram account? Instagram is, and you see the person's name, a picture they've posted, and maybe a description they've listed about it. And I follow some people on Instagram. I promise you they are perfect human beings. I have never seen a bad picture of them. They always have their hair done. I mean, I painted my toenails this morning before I came here for the first time in like 2 months, okay? I mean, that's the world I live in sometimes. And just because I was like, they're going to be looking at my toes, and I don't want them to think I'm nasty. But I feel like sometimes we see those pictures of girls, and we have this assumption that they always look like that. They don't. They have sweatpants, I promise. And so we live in this society where we're constantly seeing things like that, and we're fed that content all day. And I think that when we see that kind of stuff, we assume that people are like that, and then without meaning to, we pass judgment on ourselves, and are like, oh, I could never get my hair to do that, or, you know, I could never look like that in that dress. You know, and I feel like because we see those small snippets of people's lives, we assume that's how they really are, and we're hard on ourselves because of it. And I think that builds on our self-image. And, you know, a lot of times we think about self-image and how that hurts us as women, but think about it, maybe flip it around. How does your poor self-image, or thinking down on yourself for that split second, what does that do to your relationship with God? You know, he created you, and he created you for a reason. He made you look the way you look for a reason. We may not understand it, but he did. And it's kind of neat. It's very by design. And how people can say there's not a God just baffles me, and it's heartbreaking. But, he made you the way he made you for a reason. And sometimes I feel like if I'm down on myself, or, something's not going the way I want, or when I'm working out and I'm like, can't get the results I want, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I'm just terrible at this. I give up. I wonder what that does to my relationship with God. Like, I feel like it probably creates some space between us, because he created me, and I'm his creation, and he's very proud of me. And then for me to talk bad about myself, that's gotta hurt him. You think about, it's Mother's Day coming up, and I found this really cool card, an example of a card online. Me and my mother like to make cards, and it's really neat. I'm going to make these like tissue flowers and cut a slit in this vase thing and like stick them down in it. Anyways, we're weirdos. We like crafts. But I think about giving my mother that card. What if I gave her that card that I worked on, that I've been working on for 2 weeks, which is too long to work on a card, but that's just the way I am. If I gave her that card and she looked at it and she goes, oh, this is beautiful. Did you see the card that Camille gave her mom? A mother would never do that, right? No, she would never say something like that. But I wonder if God kind of feels that way when we say, oh, thanks for this hair, but have you seen Kayla's hair? It's so long. And I wonder if that hurts him, and I wonder if that hurts our relationship with him. I guess my challenge to you would be to give yourself a break. Find something you like about yourself and embrace it. I have fair skin, and I love my fair skin. And I know the thing is to be tan, but I like it. And I'm real funny, like when I go to the beach, I'm the girl, with the shirt and the shorts and the umbrella and the sunscreen. And they're like, hey, you want to come throw the football? Yeah, let me reapply. That's me. I like being fair. And when I was younger, I wanted to be tan like everybody else. But I found that to be tan, well, that wouldn't happen. I'd just get burned, and then I'd peel, and it'd be gross. And so I embraced being fair-skinned, and I like it, and I've enjoyed it. I would just challenge you to find something you really enjoy about yourself. There's something, I promise there's something. Maybe it's your eyes, maybe it's your personality, maybe it's that you don't meet a stranger, maybe it's that, you're really creative. And I think that if you find something you like about yourself, it can really help you serve God. That challenge of seeing everyone else and thinking they have it all together is something that we all go through at one point or another. There's a group out there that does a lot of like Christian songs for the radio and things like that, and they have a song called "Stained Glass Masquerade." And I want to read you the lyrics to that song, just because I heard it one night at like a ladies' night thing at a local church, and I thought, that is so neat, and I wrote it down on my phone, and then I started preparing for this lesson. I was like, that's perfect. So this song is called "Stained Glass Masquerade," and I'm going to read it to you. Here's the lyrics. Is there anyone that fails? Is there anyone that falls? Am I the only one in church today feeling so small? Because when I take a look around, everyone seems so strong. I know they'll soon discover that I don't belong. So I'll tuck it all away like everything's okay. If I make them all believe it, maybe I'll believe it too. So with a painted grin, I play the part again, so everyone will see me the way that I see them. Are we happy plastic people under shiny plastic steeples, with walls around our weakness and smiles to hide our pain? But if the invitation's open to every heart that has been broken, maybe then we close the curtain on our stained glass masquerade. Is there anyone who's been there? Are there any hands to raise? Am I the only one who's traded in the altar for a stage? The performance is convincing, and I know every line by heart. Only when no one is watching can we really fall apart. But would it set me free if I dared to let you see the truth behind the person that you imagine me to be? Would your arms be open, or would you walk away? Would the love of Jesus be enough to make you stay? I guess the moral of the story is that, we all need each other. If you can start seeing other girls not as competition, but as somebody who maybe needs some love, or maybe could be a really cool friend to you, then I think then we can really start helping each other grow towards heaven. You know, with my thing where sometimes I have a hard time being around people, and sometimes I have to tell myself, you know, hey, you're gonna be around some people today, you'll be fine, it's no big deal. I know that sounds like a really childish thing, but that's just something that I deal with, and I think that maybe when we go to church and when we talk to our friends, you know, maybe have that in the back of your head that they're probably going through something right now, and like, is your name Danielle? Like Danielle said, maybe they just need a good listener, or maybe they just need somebody to invite them somewhere. And I know this sounds like a really simple lesson, but I think that it's those simple things that we forget to do because we get so caught up in our daily lives. But anyways, that's, did I cover all the blanks? I'm a rambler, I just want to make sure. Okay. So that's my lesson for this morning, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about some relationship stuff this afternoon. And if I forget to tell you this afternoon, you know, don't hesitate to look me up on Facebook or ask for my number. I love to talk to y'all. I like to have friends in different places.